1 year ago, I started game development. Godot 4 was just released at this time, and I was pumped. So on top of trying to learn how to code, I was learning code that was outdated syntax. So everything was completely different. The names of nodes were different, the ways of exporting variables, emitting signals. So I probably took about 2 whole days trying to get this Flappy Bird thing done, and it was not even halfway done. There were lots of bad memories making this first game, but I ended up with this. For some reason after that, I thought I was ready for a full-on fighting game. There's this game that I really liked at the time, and it was called Yomi Hustle. It's like a turn-based fighting game, and I was like, oh, that'll be super easy to program something like this. I was quickly humbled by all that goes into game dev. So my next game was this UFO cow game. You play as like a UFO and you're abducting a cow, trying to avoid getting hit by rocks thrown by a farmer. It sounded a lot better in my head. For some reason, I coded the entirety of the physics by hand. I didn't realize that a rigid body, that it had the physics built into it already. I was very proud of it, but it's definitely nothing that's too impressive. So after cow game, I just started making super prototypes, like the most alpha version of a game you could ever think of. And once I figured out what rigid bodies were, really opened my eyes to what was possible. My next decent looking thing was this hammer game. You're controlling this hammer and you're nailing in nails. It would detect the nails going into the plank at a certain angle, and if you were at this certain angle, then it would either be a good one or a bad one. It was pretty cool for at the time, you know? So this next game I really liked. I love the animation of the running, I love the character design, I love the whole concept of it, the mechanics. It was just too much for me at the time. And so, you start with 2 colors, black and white, then you go up to 4 colors, 8 colors, 16 colors. And then I would have the mechanics change and how you interact with things based on the bit amounts. Yeah, too large of a scope, but it was a very, very cool idea that I might come back to some other time. I'm gonna group these next 2 games together. This one right here was my first attempt at something 3D. I was making crouching, a first-person controller, sprinting, throwing, holding. I made an item holder system, not quite an inventory, but the way I coded it, it only worked with a singular item. So I could probably yank the code for it and put it into some sort of system. That's about as far as I got until the Pirate Jam was announced. Based on the Discord notification that I got, it would be a 4-week game jam. I did not realize that accounts the 2 weeks of judging. I did not know until 3 days before it was due that it was only a 2-week-long project. So a lot of the game was rushed. The graphics itself were mostly done in the beginning. I wanted something that felt and looked cool before I started making the gameplay, because I knew the gameplay would be pretty simple. So I submitted 2 days early. I had somebody give some feedback. So in 1 day, I made a tutorial, and it is the messiest code that I've ever written. So Smashtronaut was the name that I came up with for this game. But I was really happy with how the game turned out, other than a few of the mechanics missing, and the enemy AI is atrocious. But that's about it. So after finishing my first game ever, I was getting way too confident in myself. So I joined this game jam. It's the Metroidvania game jam. I figured if I could get my game done in half the time that I expected it to take, then I would easily be able to finish a Metroidvania game in 30 days. So my concept for this game was similar to that other pixel game where you change how the environment looks and it changes how that interacts with you. But I got only about 4 or 5 days into this, and I just gave up because it was such a large project. There was so much that I didn't know. There was so much that I still don't know about game dev. It's just not practical for me to do something like this. I figured that if I even finished this project, it would be something I wouldn't be happy with, and I'd rather work on a smaller project and actually have something that I'm happy with releasing. Currently, I'm in the middle of making a horror game. There's a couple of things that I've added so far that I can't show you. I have one mechanic that is really cool, and I don't know if I'll ever tell anybody about it. I might just keep it a secret. If you don't know, you might not know it's a mechanic. There are a bunch of little details and other projects that I didn't even go over in this video. I just wanted to give a quick summary on what I've done and a little bit of progress. I didn't take game dev too seriously until the past couple months. So, I was off to a slower start than normal. But yeah, I'm excited to keep doing it.